Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and welcome once again to today's special edition of my HR Storybook, especially dedicated to fathers in the house. And on that note, please relax, and we look forward to having an enjoyable learning time with our special guest today. Please, on that note, I will be playing the introduction video, and afterwards, I'll read out the profile of our guest today. Thank you.
Identity and your brand. So if Bolaji had given you that target to be the top 5 person in the industry,
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So I'll go ahead right away and read out the profile of our special guest today. I mean, he's someone that I respect and admire so much, and I'm really excited to learn from him today. So, no other person than Sola Oyegbade. So, who is Sola? Just give me a minute so that I can just get his profile out. 1 second. Yes, here we go. So Sola Oyegbade is an assistant vice president at ARM Academy. Sola has over 25 years experience of working in the financial services industry. He started with FSB International Bank, then proceeded to Fidelity, and afterwards FCMB Bank, and now he's with ARM. Shola holds an MBA from Lincoln University in US and a certificate in leadership from Harvard Division of Continuing Education at Boston, USA. He's skilled in organizational development, performance management, learning and knowledge management, life coaching, leadership and team building, as well as project management, creative thinking, and systems design. Wow, you got everything loaded in Shola. So Shola has been an active contributor in several organizational projects, such as staff analysis and job evaluation, direct sales agent, business model, manpower planning and optimization project, employee services, performance planning and implementation, curriculum development, talent management, measuring training ROI and impact analysis, and so much more. He is a stickler for results with strong passion for making positive deposits in the lives of people and businesses. He also volunteers in nation building projects, works and initiative. I would also like to add on this note that he's also part of the board members of my HR Gems Coaches Network. It gives me so much honor to have Shola in the house today. Wow. I mean, we are so glad and we are so honored to have you, Shola. Thank you so much for making our time. I know you're a very busy person, but I reached out to you and out of your passion to want to give, I mean, you already stated it in your profile, to give and impact and be a blessing to people. You accepted to be part of today's session. And thank you so much, Shola. Okay. So on that note, my HR storybook, all we do here is just to tell stories. And we learn success life principles from lessons of your low moments, your high moments, what has worked, what are the challenges that you faced. And because we believe that for everything we go through in life, there's a gift in all our circumstances. And that gift comes in the form of our experience to learn, teach, and mentor others. So that is all what we're just going to do today. We want to hear from you. How has it been? So on a first note, we would like to hear, how did your upbringing span out? Did your upbringing have an influence in who you are today in any way, or at some point you had to evolve, you had to make some changes? I don't know, it would be nice to hear, how did it all start out for you up until where you are now in your career journey? Over to you, Shola. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone in the house, and a special thank you to Lara Yeku. I think it's mutual. I, highly respect what you are doing, what you stand for, what you have been able to build and put out there to impact other people's life. Again and again, I would do this, when you call upon me. So because I believe in the values and everything that you represent. So thank you very much. And to everyone that has taken out time on this very special Sunday. All right. And of course, I think these are the people that really appreciate the fact that men need to be celebrated as well. I saw an advert, some people saying that they should cancel Father's Day. You understand? So, based on the fact that probably men has a lot of loads of atrocity accredited to them, but at the same time, we need to not forget the fact that we have still men that are keeping the society going, people that are upholding the right values, upholding the right, principles that has helped organization to evolve and to also, excel. So I think on that note, I want to say thank you for counting me worthy to be here and share my own experience with everyone in commemoration of the Father's Day celebration for this year. So thank you very much. Now to your question, and I think I didn't see that coming, that you're going to send me back to my back to my upbringing, as it were. I have a very unique, upbringing, and I call it unique now with the benefit of hindsight. All right. I'm from a very interesting polygamous family. All right. Family of 12, 4 wives. All right. That already should paint picture in the heads of everybody. All right. So, and I was the 11th child. Okay. The 11th child. And again, based on the fact that the way the home environment was put together is such that at a very early stage, you were, given this consciousness of competition. You need to know how to compete. You need to know how to make your mom look good. You need to have a way to ensure that you find a creative way to get whatever you want from your dad and all of that. But I believe that for a very long time, I always call myself as disadvantaged until I bought a book, all right? And that book actually changed my orientation about who I am and about my experience so far, and of course, the life that I'm now living now. So I will say very quickly, my upbringing actually impacted on my values for life, particularly when you're talking about work ethics, when you're talking about the dignity of labor, when you're talking about being disciplined and being honest, all right? And the need to always protect your name, because that was the orientation that was given to me before I set out. But again, I don't know whether I can quickly mention how I find myself studying what I studied, because I went to the University of Ibadan. I read library and archival, library information and archival studies. And moving from library, I had to move on to study business administration. And again, I did my MBA and all of that. When I set out for library, and this is what I always say to people, we really don't set out to, you can't invent your mission, like I always say. You will detect it, all right? You will stumble on it. And as events unfold in your life, you, depending on how you respond to those events, by the way, all right, you will find yourself, embracing a particular path, or embracing a particular calling, or embracing a particular class. Has been my own story. I set out as library and archival studies person, but I didn't stay there, but I started off like that. I don't know whether that, gives you some kind of background to how how will I put it now? I read library. I started out as a consultant, all right, consulting for banks, consulting for discount houses, and consulting for some financial institutions, setting up their business libraries, all right. And because of my that profession, as it were, I had the privilege of being exposed to a lot of books, all right, because I was involved in carrying out a classification of books, cataloging of books, all right, and all of that. So at some point within the banking sector, I became a consultant, setting up business libraries for banks, Associated Discount House, Kakawa Discount House, GT Bank, Chartered Bank of then, all right, Intercontinental Bank of then, and of course, FSB International Bank, and a couple of other institutions. So that introduction to library business, as it were, was actually what gave me the background to love books, all right, love information and information peering, materials, as it were. And gradually, I found myself in the strategic management department of one of the banks. All right. And in the strategic management department, I spent almost about 6 to 7 years working as a research officer, planning officer, and of course, I moved on to become the learning resource officer in that particular institution. And lastly, I was moved from strategy to HR. Precisely, looking back now, was 2003. I crossed from strategy to HR in 2003 as performance and competency management officer. Then that was the first time that we were introduced to the concept of balanced scorecard. All right, and as at that time, balanced scorecard was still being practiced purely the way Kaplan and Norton, introduced it. All right, in their books on balanced scorecard. So until later on, we start adapting it from just having only financials, all right, customer perspective, internal process perspective, and learning and growth. People now started adding risk perspective and some other perspective within the organization. So basically, I think my trajectory has been someone that the only thing I can say that I was passionate about learning. I was passionate about driving myself to achieve something. And that, for me, has been the major factor that has brought me this far. Okay, so today, I find myself in learning and development because my MBA research was actually based on learning and development and focusing on e-learning as far back as 2008. And it was immediately I finished my MBA that I was moved out of performance management in FCMB and I was moved to training academy. And I became the head of the training administration, moved from training administration to learning and development unit and to faculty management function. And of course, eventually I became the head of the entire academy before migrating or transiting into where I am again today, ARM, which is Asset and Resource Management Limited. And of course, I'm in the academy today. So I don't know whether that, paints some pictures of how I find myself here. And that is like over a period of like 25 to 26 years.
Wow, awesome. Wow, that was such an inspiring story. Thank you so much, Sola, for being very authentic with us and sharing your story, casting your mind back way to when you were a lot younger. Thank you. So my next question is with regards to being brought up as a male child. Was there any point, even though given your background where you came from a polygamous home and the need for you to be competitive, was there any point in life where, while you were growing up, there were a couple of stereotyping that you did experience as a male, maybe giving preferential treatment at any point while you were growing up, and even in the workplace as well? Have you noticed, have you experienced any sort of stereotyping just because you're a male?
Okay, thank you for that question. I would say for me, I think because of the fact that I've been able to embrace very early in life, all right, this consciousness of you know, doing something meaningful with your life and doing something meaningful with your talent or your giftings. Because if I decide to go back, I was a member of the Boys Brigade. At some point, I was in the Boy Scouts. All right, I was involved in the Literary and Debating Society in school. All right, I was, you know, I'm a trumpeter. I played trumpet. I played flute. I play, you know, at amateur level on keyboards. So I was exposed to a lot of things. And I think it's still on the background of the fact that you needed to prove yourself in the family. So naturally, I find myself always being seen as someone that is talented, someone that has something to offer, and someone that is not, I'm not lazy. All right. So maybe naturally, I find myself being called upon to shoulder, you know, some responsibilities or be part of some activities or tasks or projects. So, and that has really been my own experience and my orientation, as it were. So if I'm going to compare whether that was a preferential treatment, maybe, maybe not. Particularly when I look back and I see that there are instances whereby people were called upon to do certain things. I remember in the Boys Brigade, they sent us to the camp of the military camp at Ede, somewhere in Oyo State, and they asked us to go and learn. They just bought the band set for the church, all right, All Saints Anglican Church back then in Oshobo. And at the end of the 2 weeks that we spent in that camp, I was the only one that came back with the skill to be able to play the trumpet, you know, effectively. Naturally, they made me a captain. So when we came back, they made me a captain. And apart from that, also in school, I also find myself always wanting to be part of debates, always be part of drama, as it were. So I can count a number of drama that I was part of in school. So I don't know, because looking back, probably some of these early involvement in activities actually prepared me to be someone, all right, that people can rely on, all right, to do something for them. And I think without preempting what you are going to ask me next, I want to let you know that in my over 26 years of working, I work with 75% or 80% of my direct bosses have been female. Out of about 12 bosses, I think I had 9 female. My current boss is a female, all right, is female rather. And my previous boss, female. The one before her, female. All right. So for some reasons, I just believe that I have developed some internal mechanism, if I can use that word, to be able to cope and to be able to shoulder responsibility, the self-driven, the motivated, as it were. In the eyes of a lot of people, in fact, some people in my former organization, they refer to me as Mr. Fix-It. Mr. Fix-It, meaning that if you need something to be fixed, you just call me. And even if I don't know anything about it, I will find a way to figure it out. And I believe that all the exposure to various activities growing up, all right, were actually responsible for the person that I've become today, both at home and also in the workplace. Somebody said, Mr. Fix-It. Yeah. In fact, it came from someone that least expected. All right.
All right. So you've had to work with 9 female bosses?
Out of 12 in the last 26 years.
Wow. Who would you prefer to work with? Females, even though you work more with them, or the male bosses?
Okay. Now, generally, the statistic is out there that people generally prefer, both male and female, they prefer to work with male bosses. Go and check it out. As a matter of fact, I stumbled on a write-up that says that about 71% of male prefer to work with a male manager. All right, and 58% of female also prefer to work with male managers. And in my own case, the reverse has been the case. I have actually worked with about 75% of my bosses have been female. But I need to put this out there. Of all the 12 of them, the person, and this has been truthful, that impacted me the most and gave me that early opportunity to learn, all right, the rudiment of work, all right, and being able to, to own my turf in the corporate world was a man, all right, was the head of the strategic management department of former FSB. Way back then, Isiaka Yinosa, people that are very close to me know that I always talk about Isiaka Yinosa. Isiaka Yinosa was someone that I worked with him for about 6-7 years. And within that 6-7 years, I was the least staff in the department. And yet I was the most, how will I put it? The ones that he relates with the most.
Most resourceful.
So I don't know.
Maybe most resourceful.
So in fact, they call me a roving staff, all right, because they were always moving me from one function to the another and all of that. Different department will call upon me and will say, Shola, go and meet them and all of that. And that was why I stayed in the research unit for a very long time, okay? It gave me the opportunity, all right, to be involved at strategic meetings. At that stage, I was involved in preparing, for some of you that understand how banking industry works, I was responsible for developing what we call asset and liability, committee, ALCO newsletter. All right, asset and liability committee newsletter way back then. All right, I'll have to use the stuff like Economist, Financial Times, all right, and how to research and ensure that I am able to give them reports on weekly basis. Involved in carrying out customer survey for the organization, involved in carrying out product survey for the organization, all right, and analyzing the results. Way back then, we are not talking of now that we use, online tools to carry out survey. You will print out your paper and you will call for focus group sessions. You will administer your news, your questionnaire, you collate everything, you get back on your Excel and start to analyze. And once you are done, you bring everything out into PowerPoint and you have to present to the management. Let me share this very classic example because I think everything is important that men also know that it's important that it's not so as we are in the workplace to make a living. We must never also forget that it is an opportunity to impact life. Let me just put it out there. I will forever be indebted to Isiaka Yinosa. That was a classic case, which I always love to share with people. The MD of former FSB then, Mohammed Ayatuddin, all right, he received an invitation to present a paper somewhere in Jos. Isiaka called upon me and said, Shola, go into the library, prepare the speech for Mohammed Ayatuddin. He's going to make a presentation in Jos. And I looked at me. There are 3 unit X in that department. He called upon me to be the one to do it. Long story short, I finished my research. I presented to UNISA, and we reviewed that content that I presented to him. At the end of the day, I can say that my own content that was left in that preparation was like maybe less than 25%. And he sent the email to Ayatuddin and said that, find attached, blah, 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 the speech prepared by Shola Oyegbade. Now, that is not the end of the story. Mohammed Ayatuddin, for some reason, he was unable to honor that invitation, so he delegated to another executive director, Alhaji Mustafa Bintube. I'm mentioning names so that it's an authentic story I'm telling you. So Alhaji Mustafa Bintube came all the way from Abuja, called on me and said that because Mohammed sent the mail to him and said that if you have any issue with this speech, please contact Sola Oyegbade. So when he came to Lagos, he called me to somewhere Okotebo in off Awolowo Road there, and said, meet me in this hotel. We need to review this speech together. So I went to his hotel. I was in the hotel with him till past 10 that night. And by the time we were done with the speech, trust me, it has been purely diluted. That if I'm going to trace my original thought, probably I will have less than 5%. Now, this is where I'm going about not just working, but being able to impact and grow people in the process. Now, this is it. So Mustafa Bentube came back from that presentation. One day, I was just working in the marketing department, and we were coming from the boardroom. Almost all the executives, we were just walking out of the boardroom, and I met them by the corridor, and they called on to me, said, Sola, come over here. Everybody, please help me appreciate Sola Oyegbade. He prepared the speech that I presented on behalf of Mohammed Ayatuddin at JOS, and I received a standing ovation for it. If you can imagine, I just look around, seriously? The content was, I can't lay any credit to that content anymore, but I mean, you can see me sharing it with still passion today because it actually made a very great impact in my life. That same year, I was given MD Special Award. And let me tell you, all this while, I was in the subsidiary of the bank. All this while, I was in the subsidiary of the bank. But Isiaka will tell them, whatever you give to the main staff, you must give to Sola. Training, you must give to him. All right? And some benefit. So the guy actually really fought for me. And today, I think I imbibe that kind of orientation and mindset from him. Ask anybody that has worked directly with me. I try my best to ensure that I also impact them as much as possible. And that is why we are not just making money. We must also focus on making impact in the lives of people that we come across.
Wow, I mean, from your story, it just clearly shows inspirational leadership. A leader who sees potential in someone way younger and gives them the opportunity to fly. And the twist of it is you also embraced it. So you didn't look down at yourself to say, okay, Sola, you're not qualified for this. There are other departmental heads that could do this. Why me? But you went ahead and you gave it your best. Wow. Thank you so much, Sola, for sharing that story. My next question is with regards to working with female team members. So I'd asked you already in terms of reporting to females. What about working with females within your team? Over the years, at any point, have you noticed any form of differences with regards to how you treat your team members based on their gender? Or you've just been able to relate with every one of them just the way they are? It would be nice to hear your experience and perspective in that regard.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Unlike the way it has been that my bosses have been female, my direct reports have always been mixed, okay? And I recall clearly when I started having people reporting to me, it was a young man that started reporting to me, then another person, then a female. So I had 3 people, out of which we have a female. But I think I need to give kudos to this young lady, because even though she was female, in terms of the quality of our output, the quality of our work, and our ability to also even cope with the pressure that comes with the work. All right, she did quite well, better than the other guys. All right, and for me, I've always said this about performance appraiser. Whenever, for me, this is my personal experience, when I'm appraising people, it's always very easy for me to appraise somebody whose result is very clear and undeniable. So I'm always able to even use more words that I know that I can defend easily. Unlike when this other person's performance is not that good and you are trying to ensure that you don't, you are trying to be impeccable with your words such that you don't say what will hurt the person, but at the same time, you also don't want to leave them without letting them realize their flaws or the gaps or the areas of improvement. So for me, this is what I experienced. They noticed that I was always appraising this lady more, positively and glowingly. All right. And it got to a point, one of the guys actually, took it up with me and said that how come that I'm always appraising this person better than the two guys. And I said, okay, let's sit down and let's look at the responsibilities we have in the department. And we looked at the performance appraiser. We looked at what we have done. And way back then, we were doing what I call MBO, all right, managed by objectives. So we had KPIs, we had measures, we have measure definitions, we have targets, and we have scoring. And and you have the actual that you have to put against it. So give me your actual. And it was very clear to all of them that yes, this other lady was actually doing far better than they. But I want to believe that generally there is this stereotype in the workplace that men, understandably so, all right, are better, they work better and they also perform better in certain job roles. Okay, and there are also statistics out there that actually shows that yes, even men are given more opportunities than the female counterparts in the workplace. But for me, my own experience and that early stage as well, I've actually been privileged to have females that are able to always, pull their weight, all right, and also prove their worth, all right, in the workplace. If I'm going to also mention someone that was a lady that I'm almost going to have some issues with, all right, and this person today we are so close. It was when I first, joined FCMB. All right, I joined FCMB as a performance management person. All right, and I met this lady and some other people already in that performance management unit. And prior to my coming, naturally, she was an high flyer within that unit and a top performer, if I can put it that way. So when I came, all right, most of our performance management then were always using Excel, a lot of formulas and all of that. And I noticed that most of the templates they've created before I joined the team, they will use a lot of if functions. And you will see these long if functions in the cell. And I said, come on, there are better ways to do this thing that it will be very, very easy and to calculate and all of that. And I just changed everything. That didn't go down well with her. In fact, it got to a point she reported that Sola has changed everything and that I've canceled the performance, the formulas and blah, 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 things are not working. And this person naturally by nature, I used to call her that she's an alarmist. Any little thing she would raise an alarm. So, but again, because I had actually had experience working with female, I understand. Okay, so I will respond. I will just say, okay, let's go through this and look at what I've done and what you were doing before. And gradually, I was able to win her over because eventually, and that's what I also say to men. Okay, you can't assume, you can't command respect by just being a man, or for the fact that you are a man and you expect people to respect you. You have to be able to prove that you have something to offer. All right. And that is what I believe, that in the workplace, even as we are assigning responsibility to people, we need to be able to identify people with specific skill sets that can get those jobs done, irrespective of your grade, irrespective of your level, as it were. So for me, I've always been able to just be able to, whatever I can't do most of the time, trust me, I will not give you to do. And I will also ensure that I'm able to demonstrate to you even ×2 or more of what I've asked you to do. And that for me, when you're talking about authentic leadership, that is the way I describe authentic leadership. To be an authentic leader, you have to be able to walk your talk. You have to be able to show to people that you also can roll up your sleeves to get certain things done. And once that is clear to everybody, people will align with your leadership. People will align, with your style. And of course, they know that in the process, they also will, they will grow in the process. I don't know if that addresses your question and your concern about working with female colleagues. And I haven't had any issue with any form of harassment, as much as I can say. I know that I am very, very close to all my female colleagues. I can say that again. Even all my female bosses till today, in fact, we are family today, okay? The first person that taught me Excel, Nene Lawani, she's in Canada today, and we've come a long way. She was the one that taught me a lot on Excel. We are family today. Another of my boss now in Australia, Bukola Omolokun, all right? She was the one that supervised me when I was the planning unit in strategy. Today, we are family too. I'm yet to see any of my direct bosses that we are still not in close relationship. And what I will bring out from that is that no matter the kind or the nature of treatment you receive from people, try as much as possible to sift what is positive that you can, work with, all right? And don't allow yourself to be clouded by the not too good side of them, all right, as to discard the entire relationship. Okay, so I don't discard relationship. In fact, I find it difficult to discard relationship. I find it very, very difficult to do so. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sola. So we should always look for the best in every relationship. Thank you so much. So my next question is with regards to the future of HR. Over the years, we have a lot of female in the HR space. And my question now is, what do you think would be the future of men in the HR space? A lot of people see HR as a female-dominated profession. It would be nice to have your view on that.
Well, I think it's a general notion, clearly, all right, that HR is a female-dominated field. And because it is, we see it that way, it is also true, all right, in reality. Of course, just take a poll now, all right, even on this platform, if you want to check the percentage of female in HR profession to male, all right, you remember that was the time we had a conversation and I said, part of the reason why I don't speak so often on the forum is because my first observation was the fact that almost about 80% of everybody in the house are female. But now this is it. Gender really doesn't matter so much in HR. And the reason is that men you don't have to, show gender bias, all right, when you are, in charge of human resource, management of any organization. But again, men might also spend, a lot of time in female groups, just like what I mentioned now. And when I spend a lot of time in female groups, okay, there are some functions of HR which, if I look back, my former organization, I may not be the same for every organization. There are some activities that the HR people have actually been expected to carry out within the organization that you can say that it is best fitted for female. All right, and one of them is when you have events to coordinate, when you have welfare issues to address, and by default, all right, we tend to feel that female counterparts will do better in organizing events and being able to attend to welfare-related issues within the organization. But I can tell you that there are some statistics that also put it out there that even within the HR space, males that are in HR space are actually even more well paid than their female counterparts, even though we understand very well that the HR profession by design or by nature is female dominated, field. But I believe that there's future for everyone in this field, whether you are male or female. The only thing I will put out there as caveats is that as male, you need to ensure that you don't exercise any gender bias when you are given the responsibility as the head of HR anywhere you find yourself. And I think, again, we also need to try as much as possible, okay, to connect the art that is in, the art, all right, which I believe most of the time men don't have that, they don't have that natural ability to connect with the art of the employees. We connect more with the head. And because female generally, they have that soft spot, that ability to connect easily, ability to understand people easily than men, because they listen more, all right? And men will actually really don't have that kind of makeup whereby you listen, all right, to people's issues, all right? If you can't do it, you get out of it. But for female, they will rather listen to you. Why can't you do it? And again, find a way to work together with you until you are able to figure out how to do it. Generally speaking, I say. But in terms of future for men in HRO, there is future for both men and women, even though it is a female-dominated field. But I will advise, if you are a guy and you are in HR, you just need to ensure that you avoid that gender bias that can make people to feel that you are either favoring the male species within the organization and you are neglecting the female, or probably you are also neglecting some soft issues, all right, that drives performance within an organization. Do we have questions in the chat room? I saw you drop something there now.
Hi, everyone. It'd be nice to have your questions. If you have any question, please feel free to drop in the chat room.
Okay, so Lara, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Sola. So I want to ask you a question with regards to ego management. A lot of men are perceived to have ego. Have you experienced any situation where your ego had to come to play, but you had to manage your ego in the workplace?
Yeah. Naturally, men are seen to be egoistic, and understandably so. Even when you look at the formation of family, by the way, the natural structure of the society, men have always been placed up there, all right? Men have always been seen as the breadwinner, as the head of the family, as the person that gives direction and all of that. But here we come to the workplace, okay? You that everybody see as, in my house, I'm the king, I'm the I'm the Alpha and Omega in that sense, as it were. Naturally, everybody always, warm up to you. They do your biddings. They respect your wishes. All right, you give instruction and they carry them out. And of course, you have some level of control and authority, so to say, within your home environment. But when you come to the workplace, and this is where it gets interesting, you are not only, reporting to a female boss, but you are reporting to a female boss that is younger than you. So the natural tendency for most men, all right, will be to always want to prove to the boss that, they are somebody, all right, or, just want to demand for some level of respect from them. So in my own case, let me say, this is it. It happens to everyone, but I have come to recognize how to manage that ego. And that ego as it is, ego, I understand that your ego can stop your progress. Ego can stop you, in the direction of your destiny if it is not well managed. So it is now not a function of because I find myself in the workplace. I recognize that for you to be egoistic, all right, it can actually stop you. And on a lighter mood, I always say that don't allow your ego, all right, to stand in the way of your ego. In other words, don't allow this your puffed up, or esteem over, when you overesteem yourself, all right, and you overrate yourself, and it will rob you of opportunities or of, chances of making it in life. So I believe that ego needs to be well managed. It is natural to have ego, but you must also learn how to manage your ego. And on a lighter mood for everyone out there, I will also put it out there that we also have what I call positive ego and negative ego. All right, for positive ego, you need that to keep yourself consistently motivated, all right, and to also be able to appreciate the power of collaboration, to know that you can work with people, all right, so effectively without, allow your ego, the negative ego, to stand in the way, but be proud of yourself and tap into other people's strength as well to get ahead in life. That is the positive ego. And I put it this way, for those that are Christian, that ego for the positive one simply means that exalting God only. Exalting God only, meaning that you always find a way to appreciate God and people that have supported you or contributed to your achievement. When you do that, people will follow you, people will volunteer more, people will do more for you, all right? Even though you are, displaying your achievement and you are speaking about what you have done, but you recognize that you didn't do it alone, you did it with contributions of others. The negative ego is this, and I call it, that is edging God out. When you edge God out, means that you also edge people out. It is always about I, me, and myself. I did it. I burned the candle night. All right. I did this by myself. I made that investment. That investment, somebody told you about it. That task, somebody, recommended you for it. So we need to have that understanding in the workplace. Even when I have a female boss, I need to always recognize that, yes, I need an input for me to do what I want to do. And I also need to also volunteer what I know. I had an encounter. Let me quickly even make mention of that. Now, there's a particular boss, all right, that I work with, one of my female bosses, actually, very powerful woman, all right? And because of my own background in performance management, I tend to understand how to craft goals, all right, and also assign measures to goals. So we were now called upon to come and carry out what we call key risk indicators for the organization. Key risk indicator for the organization is not for you, it is for the team. They're not using it to measure you, but they're using it to measure the team. They're also trying to use it to measure the operational risk of the organization. So I did that assessment based on my understanding of the risk associated, operational risk associated to our job. And this person actually changed everything. I said, no, don't let them, that is going to come back to us. I said, it's not coming back to us. It is for the organization to be aware. It is not about our own appraiser, but organization needs to be aware of the rate. So, but guess what? We disagree. But again, because she's my boss, I have to submit to her. When we got to the meeting, the review meeting, everybody, we started reviewing unit by unit. And when they got to our own unit, people started saying that, no, everything we did there was wrong. And people now started asking me that, Sola, with all your experience in performance management, is this what you can come up with? I couldn't say anything. But at the end of the day, we changed everything back to what I told her. So guess what happened? This is it, because I paid for it. So guess what happened? By the time we returned to the office, my boss called me to our own office and said, what was that you were doing out there that I made it very difficult for her to speak? I said, how do you mean? He said, I assumed the position of the person that knows everything in that particular. I said, but we discussed this internally before we went out and you disagreed. I paid for it too for several months, even I dare say maybe years. All right. She deliberately, refused, all right, to take me for other, meetings like that. So that is a clash of ego in some form. Even though you buried your ego, all right, but again, it's now also a function of how the other person is able to relate with you, even when you try to show that, okay, I am 100% in alignment with what you are saying or what you ask me to do. But I just think that the takeaway for all of us when you're talking about ego is, let us be able to appreciate people for who they are. Let us recognize that our differences is actually the value that we bring to the team. Nobody will celebrate us for our similarities. We will always be celebrated for our differences. So in fact, it is the difference that you are paying for. And we just need to know how to deploy that difference, all right, in order to move the unit or the organization forward. Otherwise, if we are all the same, I bet that the organization also will not be able to fulfill its full potential.
Awesome, powerful. I mean, diversity brings variety. Thank you so much, Sola, for sharing that with us. So we've come to the end of today's session, but we have two questions that I would like you to quickly take. The first question from Tangod reads, did you have a clear career plan when you started your career? That's the first question. The second question, maybe after that one, we'll take the second question quickly.
All right, at the initial stage, no. And if you joined us at the beginning of this session, I started by saying that I've come to accept and recognize that indeed, you cannot invent your mission. You can't invent it, you will dictate it. Now, this is it. I've learned to always, plan, all right, for my next level, all right, to the extent of my understanding of what my current, all right, and my future role, all right, requires. For instance, when I decided to move into business administration, it was because I suddenly find myself, I read library and information science, and I find myself consulting for banks. I find myself consulting for discount houses. All right. And all of a sudden, it just occurred to me that, look, if you really want to build a career within this industry, you need to get something also that can complement for you within this industry. Then I went for business administration. Okay. Then after that, I also realized that with time, when I was in the banking industry, I realized that I graduated in '94 from the University of Ibadan. Okay, and I did not do MBA until 2007. So I suddenly woke up one day and said, come on, now you are growing in your career. It's important that you get something in addition, all right, to help you, at least consolidate yourself within this industry. So for me, I think I've learned to always plan for as much as I can see, all right, and as much as I am inspired per time. Because guess what? And this is also being religious. When they say that God will grant you the desires of your heart, it is not that when you want iPhone 10, all right, God will give you iPhone 10. It simply means that the desire to want iPhone 10 will be given to you by God himself. So in other words, anytime something occurred to me in my career right now that shall I go for this, I will go for it. And it becomes something that I will plan towards on how to achieve it. So in that wise, you dictate it. You didn't invent it. So most of the things that I've accomplished, I always stumble on the fact that I need this next one. When I went to Harvard, it was like that too. I just suddenly realized that I needed to do this, and I set a goal. 4 years after I set the goal that I want to go to Harvard, it did not happen. But one thing I say for sure is that on my system every day, I put it there, I'm going to Harvard, I'm going to Harvard, I'm going to Harvard, when I didn't even know, have a clue on how I'm going to get there. And when it was going to happen, things just fell in place. All right. The money that I used to sponsor myself to Harvard was the money paid to me by FCMB when I clocked 10 years in 2006 in FCMB. The stipend that was paid for me, the moment it came, I said, wow, this is the money to take me to Harvard. and I do it. So I think it's important to always plan based on your experience so far and what you can see down the line. So planning from the onset, no, but planning as I make progress in my career, yes.
Thank you so much, Shola, for that. So we have the last question here from Adiola. Good evening, sir. I just took the HR role at a one-man business company, but I'm finding it difficult to get my work right because I am the only one working in the HR department. I don't have any prior experience in the HR department. Please, I love the HR work. How do I know I'm doing the right thing and succeed in this career?
All right,
Someone
so
that is a lone ranger in her career.
yeah, so Adiola, you've got the right attributes or factor that will enable you to go far in the HR career already from what you have said now. Why? Because you love work. Because you love HR, trust me. And for you to be on this platform, it shows that you already identified the things that you need to do right in order for you to begin to put in place HR best practices and structure policies and procedures within your organization. So my advice for you is that sustain that love for HR, all right, and begin to network just like you have started already. And there are a number of certifications within the HR field that I believe will help you to get yourself a lot grounded within the HR work. And I believe that in the course of this, you can also access anybody on this platform. I believe Lara will be available for you. She's a senior, HR person, all right, in one of the leading FMCG in Nigeria. Okay, so you need to also connect with people and volunteer to support what they do, because that's another thing. Most people, when you're looking for something, you are always looking for who can give you that stuff. But I will give you another principle that will help you today. Once you realize that you need something from Lara, for instance, quickly ask yourself, what do I have that I can give to Lara to support her in anything that she's currently doing? Naturally, a man's gift will make room. Lara will naturally notice you. She will acknowledge your presence or your contribution. And in return, it is a voluntary response. When you need something, she will look for it and give it to you. So that's what I can say to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shola. That was spot on. Thank you, and Adiola, please feel free to get a copy of my HR storybook. I mean, that is one book that has the experience of people in HR. It does explain what you need to do, what you need to know as well. Thank you so much. So on that note, we have come to the end of today's session. Shola, thank you so much. We'd like to hear your parting word before the vote of thanks.
All right, so for me, it has been a very interesting experience here, because I didn't realize that we were going to go this route. I was originally just preparing in a particular direction before I got this question, but it's really lovely because you've also helped me to think back. So in terms of parting words, I'm going to say to everyone here, and this is what I've come to realize on a daily basis. The work you do is like your personal autograph. All right. Try as much as possible to always autograph anything you do with excellence. Whether within the HR space or you are outside of HR space, ensure that you always autograph your work with excellence. People will not ask how much you were paid to do that job, but people will always be able to relate with the quality of the output of your work. And on that note, I will say to everyone, please and please and please be authentic, all right, and be genuine in everything that you do, in your pursuit of your career, in the pursuit of your purpose in life. Just try as much as possible, be authentic, be genuine, and ensure that you are always able to autograph your work with excellence. And trust me, that is what will speak for you. Wherever you go, your work will always speak for you. For everybody, every man out there, I want to say congratulations to us for this year's Father's Day, even though people are protesting that they should scrap it. But thank God, as long as we exist, we will continue to celebrate both the male
we can't
and
stop
the
it.
female.
Wow, thank you so
All
much,
right, so
Lara,
thank
for
you
your
very much
time.
for
So
having me, Lara.
Patricia here states that thank you so much, sir. I mean, your story, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us. Your story has inspired to set my priorities right. Amazing, amazing. MOD says, thank you, Coach Lara, for this awesome session. Thank you so much for your time and experience sharing, Mr. Sola. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Such an inspiring story to hear from you today. And that is
Let me just thank some of my people there. I think I saw
okay.
I saw my dear sister there, all right, earlier on. Let me see whether she's still there so that, okay, where is
Okay.
she? Let me
What's her
greet
name?
some. Ogunkoya. I think she has left. Okay, and I
Okay.
have, Omowumi Osho. I'm so surprised. Omowumi just left the ARM Academy. All right, she just moved
Okay.
on. It was one person that made
Okay.
my settling down in ARM very seamless. So I appreciate you, Omowumi.
Thank
And sorry if
you.
I can't see everybody, but I just thought I should
Yes,
just
thank you so much,
appreciate.
everyone. I think on that note, would usually give opportunities to someone from the participants to share their vote of thanks. Anyone wants to go off mute and just give your vote of thanks? Anyone wants to just say thank you to Mr. Shola? Anyone from the participants? I mean, you've learned a lot from him. It'd be nice to hear your vote of thanks to him. Anyone? MOD?
My name is Taya. Yes, it's Taya.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Coach
Can you
Lara.
please speak up and can you say your name as well? Thank you.
My name is Taiwo Isaac.
Isaac. Thank you.
So thank you, Coach Lara, for this section, and we appreciate Mr. Sola for the time and the robust experience that you've shared with us. And we pray that you more grace for more wins for you. And we also thank Coach Lara for, this platform. You are really helping people. You are really helping professionals. We thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taiwo. Thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone for your time. My HR Storybook is a book that everyone should read and get a copy to bless your colleagues, your mentees at work. It's a storybook that chronicles the career stories of 56 HR professionals. So please feel free to reach out to any of the contacts on your screen to get a copy of my HR Storybook. On that note, we call it a day. Thank you so much, Shola, once again. Thank you everyone for your time.
All right.
And
It's like you
have
don't
a
take
fantastic
picture on
week.
your program.
I've actually taken some pictures though.
Okay. I just said because I just love to always ensure that we close with that because that's part of what people miss from the physical class to the virtual platform that we have now.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
it's usually Sundays. So a lot of people are usually not camera ready on
Okay.
Sundays. Yes.
All right.
On that
So
note,
thank you very much for
thank you
having
so much, everyone.
everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.